Hello, happy 2026, and here is my most disappointing books of 2025. I read 101 books, and these are the ones that disappointed me the most. I don't know two of them, so I'm going to start off with them. So the first one, which I'm going to put here, is The Enchanted Greenhouse. So the year before that, so 2024, I had read The Spell Shop. That was actually the Once Upon Book Club's book for their sweet Halloween box, and I really wanted to read that book, and I'm like, hey, I can get it this way. Loved it, adored it. That spider plant, I forgot his name, has my heart. Loved it. So I was like, oh great, we have a book too. It takes place in the same world. It's the creator basically of the spider plant, and she talks a little bit about it, but it doesn't spoil. Well, I mean, I guess the end you kind of some things, but it's not really a spoiler. It's more like a world building thing. I hated it. It was very disappointing. Okay, I guess it's supposed to be cozy, but so what takes place is, so the world got very strict where magic can only be done by people who had proper instructions, and this woman was just a librarian here, and she got lonely, so she was a librarian, so she did a lot of research, and so she ended up just being researching, teaching herself magic basically, and she was very lonely, and she was kind of hoping being a librarian meant she gets to talk to people, but unfortunately she was just like in the back of the library and didn't really get to, so she made the spider plant. People found out, the king found out, and so she got sentenced to become a statue, and so she stayed a statue for a few years until suddenly she awakens, and she's on this island that has this enchanted greenhouse where apparently the mage died, and the guy who was in charge of it, he's there by himself, caretaking of this greenhouse, which is like an open door and keeps going on and on, but unfortunately the greenhouse is dying, and he asked for a mage to come and help, but she was sent instead. And it goes on from there, and it's just the two of them were just too in their head, and it was just very annoying to read, and I hated that. And it was just I didn't like it. It did not feel cozy to me. It felt overbearing, and I was done. All right, so the next one that I read that I don't own, because I actually ended up selling it, and this is actually the last book of the year that I read. This was from Illumicrate. It was The Second Death of Locke. And the reason why it was the most disappointing is because if you look at the cover, it is hella fantasy. And I was very much in the mood to read a fantasy book. And instead, I don't even know what I got. Yeah, there was some magic, but honestly, the magic didn't make sense to me. And it didn't make sense. So what we have is this world where there's this island, and there's an island off the coast of the island called Locke, and it's believed that the magic stems from there, and the way the magic works is there's people who are wells and there's people who are mages. The mages need the wells to perform their magic, except for the family of Locke. Well, actually, even for them. And something happens one day, and the island disappears. And with it, most of the family. However, because the way it works, only the heir of Locke is like the big ruler and in control of magic somehow. Maybe, we don't really know, but we're assuming that. And it's believed that the heir of Locke escaped the island, and they've been looking for it. And also, at this island, the big island, is different countries and different kingdoms, and they've been at war, sort of. Maybe they can't make up their mind. It just was very convoluted, and it made no sense. And of course, and it just there was like a few like, ooh, haha, and there's like a brief moment where I was just like, oh, this is good, and then I'm like, this is not good anymore. And I really did not enjoy it. I really did. No, I sold it immediately, and someone bought it, and I was like, great. Like, they bought it the next day. I'm like, great, thank you. I hope you like this. It is a very pretty edition. I'll give them that. All right, that's the ones that I don't own. So next we have For Your Bones in Midnight Soil. I know this is a very big anticipated release, and I know it's a very disappointing one for everyone, me included. I've only read B. Schwab's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and it was so good. And from what I heard, and I did read Gallant, which I did enjoy. Was it the best book? No, but I liked it. And I remember, I think she was saying that this was closer to Addie LaRue. I don't quite see. I mean, we do have one timeline that is old. So basically we have 3 timelines, although the third one doesn't come in until much later. And it's basically these vampires, and this is more of celebrating women's rights and their wrongs. It's like dysfunctional lesbian vampires, basically. Um, we have the one set that takes place very long time ago where this young woman, really, she's barely more than a teenager, she is set to marry, I think this takes place in like Spain. She's set to marry like some duke. Oh, she does marry some duke because that's what's expected of her, even though she wants to be like her brothers that go off riding horses or whatever. And unfortunately, she's like left behind with her domineering mother-in-law, and she just wants to escape. And she finds an escape, and we follow her through the years. And then we have this other one, Lottie. I remember her name, Lottie, which I think is 1800s, and I forgot how she got turned. And then we have present day, where it's this one girl who, I think she's Irish, but it takes place in New York. I might be lying there, I don't remember. And basically she's very close to her sister, but their mom died when they were young, and the father ended up remarrying, and the older sister never forgave the father because she felt betrayed. It felt like he betrayed her mother because her mom's dead, and he found a new love. And even though the stepmom was very kind, it just wasn't jiving, and she kind of ran away, I think. And so then we have her, who's like dealing with all this and dealing with being in a new country and going to college and everything. And yeah, it was beautifully written, I'll give it that. I did kind of enjoy the old timeline, but I don't know, there's something about it that's just like All right, next we have Emily Wilde, Compendium of Lost Tales. I hated this. I felt like it was a slog. I did realize, and I thought it was quite clever, that like the first one is like encyclopedia and it had like encyclopedia things. The second one was like a map and it like talked about like different places, and this is the Compendium of Lost Tales, and it did talk a lot more about the different stories, but I didn't care. I can't even tell you what's about entirely because I don't remember. Continuing on, authors that you're disappointed in, Catabasis. And this is such a pretty Fairy Lou edition that, yes, I did totally keep because it's very pretty. I love Babel. My husband knows I love Babel. I've spoken to so many people about Babel. I've gotten people to read Babel. I've gotten all my friends to read Babel, I think. Oh, this. Okay, I know I have said before that I love Olivia Blake and her pretentiousness. This is just snobby. So snobby, and it's just very weird because it's so snobby and it's very philosophical, which I can jive with to a point. And then you get the romance, and I'm just like, I don't know, it just like went on, and it was funny because one of my best friends who I got to read Babel, and she utterly adored it, and her husband read it and he was just like, she was like, oh my god, Catabasis, and like ordered from like because R.F. Kuang lives in Boston, I think, and ordered from like the local thing, so she got like a signed one, and she's like, oh my god, girl, like this would be great if Alice just stopped talking. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if she ever finished it, to be honest. I don't know how I finished this because it's also a chunky book, and it's just really funny too, you see, because like she starts off so strong with the different levels of hell, and then eventually they just stop being so intricate. And even though they stop their intricateness, it's still chunky. And I will say, one thing I do like is that I think this takes place like in an alternate universe, obviously, but like in like the 80s, 70s, 80s, around there, and like women are just being admitted into this institution that she's in, and you can see that she's one of those women that instead of putting the ladder down to help you up, she just takes the ladder away, and she has very much internalized misogyny, and you're not supposed to like Alice, and you don't like Alice, and it makes sense. So I will say, like, you know, she's still a very good writer. You still get that. I appreciate those parts, but my god, this was a slog. Continuing this theme, the library at Hellbore. Also, I'm so happy I did not get the Evernight version because that one was hideous, and I'm keeping this because it's so pretty and I just put it for Halloween decor. But I did read Cassandra Claus, The Salt Weighs Heavy or something like that, and it wasn't my favorite, no, but I did enjoy it. And I was like, and I heard a lot of things about this, and I heard a lot of people hated it, and I wanted to be one of the ones who ended up loving it. No. I see what she was doing, and it was an interesting exploration, but I also at the end felt like, what is the point of this? Like, this was a waste of time. Another disappointing is Bat Eater by Kylie Lee Baker. I remember she's the author of The Scarlet Alchemist, and I really enjoyed that book. Although how it ended, I'm just like, there's no, like, I really hated the ending of that book, and I was like, no. But I really enjoyed it, and I was hoping I was gonna like Bat Eater, especially what it's about, which was gonna be a very heavy read because this takes place after COVID, during COVID, after COVID, where we have the main I forgot what the main character's name is, but they're two sisters. They're Chinese American. Their father like just went back to China and basically left them, and they moved to New York for college, or they graduated from NYU, but it's hard to find jobs in their industry, so they're just living together. And then one day her sister gets shoved onto the train tracks and called a Bat Eater, and this is very much a outcry, like, you know, there was so much Asian hate, and it just was very exaggerative to the point where it just became, there's a word for this and I can't remember, but it was just like unbelievable, and it's just too in your face, and you're like, okay, you don't have to be so hyperbolic, we get your point. And I feel bad saying that for this, but I think what I most hate in this is what ends up happening. So she ends up working, she gets like super OCD, and I'm not saying OCD, like one of my pet peeves is people who say like, oh, I'm so OCD, everything has to be like perfect. It's like, that's not OCD. OCD is literally you have to like flip a light switch several times or else your mom's gonna die or that's how you feel. And that's how she feels. She's like, like her hands can never be clean enough, she has to clean things like X amount of times or else she's gonna die or something like that. So she like literally does have that, and so she ends up getting a job where she is a crime scene cleanup crew, and she makes friends with the other employees, and they're all also Chinese, and they've realized there's been an uptick of Asian women being killed, and they think that it's a serial killer, but the police don't want to listen to them. And that's the thing that annoyed. And also she feels like, oh, also this takes place during, I forgot what it's called, but it's like some Chinese holiday where the spirits come back and you're supposed to like appease them with offerings, like burning things so that it keeps in the afterlife. And she doesn't believe in this superstition, so she doesn't do it. And then she feels like she's being haunted, and the other woman that they're with in the cleanup crew, she believes in this, and she came from China. And again, it was just like her story made absolutely no sense. Which is like, again, me with the poking holes. It just made no sense. It's like she's just there and like to bring the story around, which it just, and also there were like things with the New York subway that I'm just like, this makes no sense. Like, this woman has never been to New York. That really annoyed me too. And so yeah, and so she was just like, here, we'll figure it out. But then like the ghosts come out, and it's like, is it a serial killer, and is it targeting them now? Are it spirits? Is it both? And the thing that bothered me is they figured out one thing, but then there's still a serial killer on the loose. We never solved that. So it was just annoying, and I just keep it for the Halloween decor. But it was just very disappointing. Like, I get it, it was a very important message, I 100% back that, but it was just so poorly executed. So poorly executed. Alright, next up is Immortal Dark by an Ethiopian author. British? Australian author. And a friend of mine, this was like ended up being her best book of the year. So I was super excited. Like, I was super excited to read this because, like, you know, I think the opening line is like for Habeshas or whatever like that, and Habesha is like not all Ethiopians and Eritreans are Habeshas, but some are, and like my best friend is. I'm like, and so I told her about it and she bought it, and yeah, support. But I just, again, the story made no sense in parts, and it's just all this talking, and I'm just like, just can we just move the plot along? Like, this talking is just tiring me. Like, let's stop the talking. And so basically, there's this, I forgot what it's called, something Academy, Uxley Academy, which again, it's the world building wasn't strong enough for me, where like these houses around it, and then there's a school, and they have vampires, and the vampires are bonded to some of them, but you have to only pass this class, but nobody ever passes the class. So how we have so many of them that bonded? Makes no sense. And something happened. Oh, and so we have the main families, and they all are mostly in the circle, but 2 of them are actually inside, because like the circle of binds it, so nobody can actually enter without being invited. And like they have like they have their own PR, their own doctors, all this stuff. Like, how do they have so much of it, but also like it made no sense in my mind. And the 2 main families are there, and the girl comes from this main family, but something happened that her parents ran away, and she never learned Amharic, which is an actual Ethiopian Eritrean language, one of a few, and they have a certain script that I forgot what it is that actually most of those languages share, and she never learned that. She never learned, like, she knows all vampires, but she like doesn't know like the customs and stuff or whatever. Her aunt did stay behind, and then her aunt died, willing the house to her. However, the house is also willed to the last vampire, who apparently, like, there's like dozens of vampires that each house has, but her house ends up with just one, and the house is going to go to him unless she tries to lay claim. So she's trying to lay claim, but she doesn't want to be part of it, and there's a murder that happens that like it's being framed as a vampire, but it's not. And of course, her and the vampire, it's lovers, enemies to lovers, and I'm just like, but she thinks that he killed her sister, but then find out there's a whole conspiracy, and I was just tired of it, and I'm like, and I continued to see the ending, but of course you don't get answers because you have to read book 2, and I'm not reading book 2. The next one, oh, this could have gone well in the disappointing authors, is The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. The last stop, I forgot what it's called. But whatever that book is, I absolutely adored it. It was such a great book. I have not read Red, White, and Royal Blue, or whatever it's called. I forgot what it's called. I have it on my shelves. I am going to eventually read it. So I was very excited for this. This did not hit. I don't even remember what it's about anymore. I just know it's a European adventure with these 2 who were together for a bit, and then they split up, and then I think this is supposed to be like a trip they were supposed to take together, but they split up like literally the day they were supposed to go. So instead of, they like postponed it, and they were like, okay, well, not realizing the other was having the same thoughts, like, well, instead of losing the money, let me go on the trip. And so they both end up on the trip together, and they're like, oh, let's see who can sleep with the most amount of people, and they do that. But of course they still have feelings for each other. Very food centric, a lot of food. I don't really remember. It was just not good. Which is very sad, because I can't these, because look at these, but I think I might actually add this to my bathroom collection, because it's actually, realizing with the map and the shelves, it matches my not outside of holiday season shower curtain. So I think I might move that there, because I'm like, this is just taking up space in my room. I mean, I have plenty of space in my room and shelves, but eventually they're going to be filled, and I don't want this taking space. So I think move that there. But yeah, very disappointing, because oh wait, I can probably look in here. And it's signed! Oh, my other ones are not signed. Yeah, One Last Stop. I really love that book. That was such a good one. Alright, moving on to disappointing. Remarkably Bright Creatures, which is actually all part of my bathroom. My bathroom decor. I actually really did enjoy this, and I actually just saw this gonna be a movie, and I think it'd probably be a good movie, because it's like a not really a murder mystery. It's like a murder mystery. So we have the main character who, and it's actually kind of cool, because, oh yeah, Tova. So Tova's husband dies, and so she's by herself, and she's kind of curmudgeonly, and she was born here, I think, but her parents, or no, she wasn't. She came over with her parents from Sweden, because that's where IKEA is. Because when I went to IKEA, I saw the advertising the horse, and I'm like, oh, I learned about the horse. It's like a traditional decor from which is mentioned in the book. Yeah, it came over from Sweden, so it's supposed to be like that Nordic, what is it called when you don't really talk a lot? But when her and her husband, they did have a son who unfortunately died like on his high school graduation day, and so she feels like everyone judges her because now, you know, she's old and retired, and all her friends, even though she doesn't actually get close to anybody, all be like, oh, that's Tova, you know, her kid died and her husband's dead now. And so she feels like everyone judges her, even though they're not. Like, she's just, it's in her head. And then we have on the other, and she just, even though she was hired, she needs to keep busy, so she works as a janitor at the, because this takes place in the Pacific Northwest, where, I don't remember, but there's a aquarium. She's like the janitor there. She kind of befriends Marcus Aurelius, which, I'm not gonna lie, each chapter starts with a little bit from Marcus Aurelius, who is the octopus, and he is a hoot. That, like, literally, that's like the saving grace of this book and why I really enjoyed it. And then we have this other point of view of this guy who, he's down on his luck. I forgot what happened. Oh, his girlfriend left him for some reason. It's totally his fault. That's all I remember is stuff that, like, she had her reasons. So he, for some reason, because his mom, his aunt raised him because his mom was a mess, and his aunt gives him like the last things of his mom and finds a connection to the town that Tova's in, so he, like, with his last nickels, makes it up there, and you can guess where the story goes. But yeah, so Marcus Aurelius helps Tova figure out the mystery of how her son died, because it was never actually solved. But what I really, and this is why it's the most disappointing book, because this book could have been like a cozy book. This could have been on my best book. The reason why I'm not putting my worst, because it's not a bad book, it's just disappointing. And what I feel the message is that, you know, if you don't have a child, if you don't have a legacy, you're nothing, which is basically what Tova just kept saying over and over to herself, and it just really annoyed me. Which is why it'd be interesting how the movie takes place. Maybe it doesn't emphasize that, which would be nice. But yeah, it could have been such a good book. Anyway, so now we have a double feature. We have Water Moon. One I keep in my library because it's so cute, and the other one, you guessed it, bathroom decor. The reason why this is in my most disappointing, I was really looking forward to this. I loved, even though this is a Japanese author, or Japanese American author, the one I'm about to say is Korean, but the Welcome to Hyungdong bookshop, and then it's like such a cozy book, and then more Days at Murasaki bookshop, which is a Japanese translated fiction actually. And there's like right now a very big Asian cozy book thing happening, and I thought this was going to be in addition to it, and it was not. I had so many problems with it. I can't even remember what they were. I just really did not enjoy it at all. Basically, it's like we have the main character. So yeah, we have a place in Tokyo where there's a pawn shop that it's not a normal pawn shop. Instead, you go in to, like, you give back your regrets, and the regrets are like these little paper cranes, and there's a whole world behind that pawn shop, and the world just wasn't fleshed out enough for me. Like, the Dollar Gut Dream Shop one was the same thing. That was my issues with that, which even though I kept it and it was cute enough, and like the last chapter was what really got me, and I'm like, okay, I'm keeping this. Like, I think I cried. This thing too, I'm just like, this world makes no sense. Like, how is this, like, and again, everything, like, if everything is high stakes, nothing is high stakes. And also, if this is something that you know and something you've really done, how is it like, this is the last one ever? Like, that makes no sense. But yeah, so obviously there's an overall thing, but it just was very disappointing. It did not feel cozy at all. The world building was terrible. It was very disappointing. I'm actually gonna get to this one next, so give me a second. So the next one is The Phoenix Keeper. Honestly, this is not a bad book. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna keep it for now. I may end up selling it if I run out of bookshelf. The reason why it's on my disappointing list is because even though it's a perfectly fine book, it would not be on my worst list. A lot of these could go on the worst. This one, no, I wouldn't. It wouldn't go on my best, that's for sure. But I heard so many people raving about this book and saying it's such a great book. It's so cozy. I found nothing cozy about this, and the book itself was okay. Some of it was very obvious. But it was just okay, and it was just disappointing because I guess I gave myself high expectations and it didn't meet it, which is not the book's fault, you know. It's not. But that's why it's on my disappointing list. So I think in this, we have a zoo, and we have of magical creatures, and we have the zookeeper who is in charge of the phoenix, and she's always loved phoenix since she was a child, and her dream was to be a phoenix keeper. And there's a special and so she ends up being a phoenix keeper, but the zoo she's at doesn't have a breeding program, and that's her goal, her dreams, to bring a breeding program here. And there's a thievery, somebody stole a phoenix that just, so they have their egg, and then the phoenix, like the mother, like bursts into flame and turns into a chick, and that's like that last burst of flame is what opens the eggs. And somebody stole all the mother chick, and the mother, yeah, she is a chick, and the chicks, and so they had a female one, but they didn't have a male one, but now they bring the male over because also it's easier to transport males and not females. And so she's like getting ready for there, and she has an arch nemesis from college days who, it's a lot more to there. I don't want to get into it without going through the whole plot. But yeah, it was just, I don't know, just a lot, and it just, I did like that it did speak about animal conservation, even though it was talking about mystical creatures. I forgot what I called it. I cannot remember words, but you know, it still applies to our creatures and conserving them. But there's, I don't know, something about it. Just, all right, and finally, if we were doing a top 10 and a countdown, this would definitely be the number 1 disappointing book. This is The Rosefield by Philip Pullman. It is book 3 of the Book of Dust, even though the first one's called The Book of Dust, I think. So the first book is like a prequel to his dark, I can't remember what it's called. Oh my goodness. His Dark Materials, there we go. And then this is basically a continuation of book 2. Book 2 and book 3 are basically just one long book, and I still have no idea what, like at the very end I basically understood that he's giving a critique of capitalism and giving a critique of what we lose when everything goes into manufacturing and we don't keep our skills, our artisanship, artisanry, craftsmanship, there we go. But this is huge. The Secret Commonwealth, book 2, is just as big. So 2 of these, that's a lot of words to say. How did my hair get there? All this, and it just, oh, I left the bookmark on here. It was not it. I was just not happy. It was very disappointing. I did fly through it, I will say that, even though normally when I'm not driving with a book it takes me long to read. It did take me only like 5 days, I think, which, considering it's a big book, it's not bad. I think it's like 700 pages. Oh no, it's 6 something. It's like 653. So I will say at least it is very well written that I could keep going, even though I was just like, what's the point? Like, no, someone please tell me what is the point of this book. Yeah, so this is very disappointing, and especially since His Dark Materials, which is here in America, which is the Golden Compass, but in the UK, which is where it's published, it's actually Northern Lights, and then we have The Subtle Knife, and finally The Amber Spyglass are like one of my favorite books. I've never watched a movie, I don't intend to. However, HBO did do a series of each one, and I made my husband watch it. We both loved it. I really love it, and book 1 of Book of Dust was actually really good. I know a lot of people critiqued it, but I was like, no, it's great. Secret Commonwealth, I'm like, it's okay. And then this, I'm just like, okay, maybe I should reread book 1 and see if it actually was trash, and it was just me with rose-colored glasses. Also, this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. I don't know what's so exclusive. It's just that it has end pages. I don't know. Is that what in front of me? I don't remember. No. Well, it has the Griffin, which, yeah, it just introduced more. I don't know. And again, with the world building, things don't make sense, especially like what happened at the very end. I'm just like, time scale. This makes no sense. And also, it makes, you're saying we can't go there, but then why? What is the sickness? We never really, like, unless, I don't know. Or maybe I'm just not smart enough to understand this. And if you do, please leave a comment below and tell me, like, explain this to me, because I did not get it. Besides, obviously, capitalism bad. Manufacturing, horrible. I don't know. So yeah, those were my 11, was it? Or was it 13? 13 most disappointing books of 2025. I feel like I'm letting this on a downer, but I mean, it is the most disappointing book, so kind of makes sense. But yeah, right below, if you read any of these and if you feel how I feel, or if you feel opposite, I would really love to know if it is the opposite, because what did I not get? Like, I love hearing other people's point of view, clearly. So please write below that, or if you had read different other books that you thought were disappointing, let me know below. See you later.